What makes an excellent leader? And are they really that scarce? And what do they do to merit such exceptional compensation? Welcome to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. Your host is one of the world's leading experts on international leadership. She's a master certified coach and facilitates a mastermind for CEOs of international companies. She's the author of 3 books, Abrasive Leaders, Global Nomadic Leaders, and Managing Brilliant Jerks. She has worked with Nestle, Novartis, and even the United Nations. She's especially good at helping executives fast track to the C-suite. Welcome, Dr. Katrina Burris.
Welcome to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Katrina Burris, and today we have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Cheryl Wood. Cheryl, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and Cheryl's going to talk about creating a life you're in love with. I love that title. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am an international empowerment speaker and a 2-time TEDx speaker and an 18-time BestSelling author. The work that I do in the world is really focused on, as you mentioned, helping people to step into a life that they absolutely are in love with. They don't have to hit the snooze button 15 times in the morning to try to pull themselves out of bed, because the thing that they're walking in is something that is connected to who they are and the greater version of themselves that allows them to make their lives bigger than themselves, which means they're all about impacting other people and transforming their lives. So I help men and women, with a specialized focus on women, to really unleash the power of their personal stories, the experiences they've been through in life, and their expert knowledge so that they can get into the work of transforming other people's lives.
So how do you do that?
I do that really by helping people to discover that they have something very important to say. So many people, you'd be surprised, don't feel like their story is strong enough to bring to the front of the room. But if you peel back the layers of anyone's story and life experiences, there are lessons to be learned that can benefit someone else. So it's all about helping them to develop that ownership of and power of the truth that their story really does matter, and that someone somewhere is waiting for them to share what they know so that they can step into the next version of themselves.
So you help create their story that would be of interest to clients. So how do you position yourself to get high ticket clients, especially when you first started?
Yeah, it's really identifying what you are an expert at. So if you're trying to be everything to everyone, it's going to be very difficult to attract high ticket clients, because high ticket clients are looking for someone who is a specialist, not someone who's a generalist and can help everyone with every little problem. So it's very similar to, I have 3 children. And if I go on to the website to look for a general practitioner, because I want to get my kids' eyes or nose or ears checked, I can find 20 pages of general practitioners in a 20-mile radius. But if I'm looking for a pediatric surgeon, I'm looking for a specialist. And all of a sudden, that 20 pages narrows down to 1 page, because there's only a certain amount of people who have that specialty. You've got to identify what is your specialty that's going to narrow down that market for you so that people are looking for you and ready to invest at a high level because of the expertise that you bring. Most people simply don't identify what that is, and then they question whether or not they truly are an expert in that area.
So you find your expertise, and then how do you translate this into endless speaking opportunities?
You make sure that you are visible. So there is a pyramid, a paid speaker pyramid that I share, and one of the top parts of that pyramid is visibility, because visibility trumps ability. And the reason I say that is because visibility will get your foot in the door, and then your ability will keep you there. But first, you got to get the foot in the door. So that means you have to show up and you have to share what you know. You have to educate and inform people on a consistent basis. It never ceases to amaze me. People want to call themselves an expert, but they're not giving anybody expert knowledge. So you should be leveraging all of the platforms that are available to us right now, even in this virtual space, to be able to educate and inform people and share what you know, so that they see you as an expert. And if they see you as an expert and view you as an expert, and you have the confidence and the credibility of an expert, then you are going to get those high ticket clients.
So give us a concrete example of how you do that in your case. that you give visible indication of what you can do?
Yes. So I'll go back to when I first started and was trying to get my footing as a speaker. So there were all these other speakers who already had much more experience than me. They had been in the journey for much longer than I did, but I still wanted to carve out my space as a speaker expert. So the best way for me to do that was to start showing up and, number one, identifying myself as an international empowerment speaker, because I believe you have to speak life into what it is that you want to manifest. Whatever you focus on, wherever your energy goes, that's the thing that's going to expand. So I started introducing myself differently. I started showing up at networking events and making sure that I was introducing myself as a speaker so that people would put in their mental Rolodex that, oh, if I need someone, maybe this is the person who can come into my organization or my association or group, and they can provide what I need in terms of a specific topic. And then let's fast forward as we come into the space that we're in now. That visibility can simply look like showing up and leveraging social media platforms. Are you doing Facebook Lives and sharing a consistent message that demonstrates that you are an expert? Are you taking advantage of things like IGTV and IG Live or radio shows, anything that will allow you, podcasts, to get your voice out to a broader audience, and doing that on a consistent basis with a consistent message?
So, Cheryl, what kind of social media do you use most frequently?
So I am a huge fan of Instagram because people are visual and Instagram is very visual. In fact, right now, in the past, I'd say since we started this year, I've been doing a lot of what they call reels. And thank God I have teenagers in my household. I have a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, and 18-year-old. So they're able to help me kind of figure this thing out, because it's sometimes it's a little challenging, but I believe that you have to stay relevant and relatable, and you have to share content with people the way that they consume it. So reels and TikToks and things like that are big in the marketplace right now. And yes, you can use those things not just for dancing or being silly or showing your food, but to actually give people relevant and relatable content based on your core area of expertise. So I have been hanging out a lot on Instagram. I've been posting these reels about 3 times a week. It has doubled my level of engagement with the people who follow me. And then outside of that, I also maximize use of LinkedIn for the professional sector. So a lot of the work that I do is with entrepreneurs, but I also have an element where I do work with organizations, corporations, governmental agencies, and I connect with that group of people primarily through LinkedIn. And then, of course, there's my Facebook community. And that Facebook community really consists of the people who they come in to be a part of my community because they feel like it's a home base for them. It's a place for them to come and have a safe space where they can learn, they can grow, they can be vulnerable in sharing what their limiting beliefs are, and they can get encouraging information, content, and empowerment. So between those 3, those are the platforms I most heavily use.
So Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Now, TikTok, a lot of people say, oh, TikTok is just entertainment and all. Do you use it in any other form?
Absolutely. I used to think the same thing. I was like, I don't want to dance on camera and I don't want to do this silliness that I saw a lot of people doing. But it really is, it's about making it your own. And it's about the fact that, yes, people do, sometimes you've got to give people what they want in order to give them what they need. So if I can take this entertainment platform, so to speak, but make it educational, why not? Just think about teachers in today's climate, right? They can't do the same thing that teachers did when I was growing up. It's a different landscape. So teachers nowadays, they have so many other things that they're competing with the kids with cell phones and social media. So how do they engage them? A lot of times they end up doing things that are similar to a TikTok. They engage them by making sure that it is fun and energizing for those students. Well, we're no different as entrepreneurs and speakers and coaches and authors. We've got to make sure that we are delivering content to people in a way that it's fun, it's energizing, it's engaging, but it's also very informative.
So how do you integrate all this and make it fun and energizing into your brand story?
Yeah, just for number one, make sure that you are, wherever you're showing up, that you are the authentic you, always the authentic you. So I wouldn't encourage you to go out and look on social media and try to, act like, walk like, talk like, sound like anybody else. Just be you. because that way you never have to try to guess who you were yesterday or remember who you were yesterday. So be authentic and then pull on your big why. Why does this mean so much to me? Why does this message that I'm about to share mean so much to me? Why does it matter for me to share my story? Why are other people, or how are they going to be impacted by this story? How is it going to catapult other people globally into their next level of whatever it is that I'm teaching my expertise? And when you do that, people connect to stories, people relate to stories. So if I can do any type of social media posting or any educating and informing and wrap it around a story, that's how people retain things. People remember and repeat stories. We don't remember and repeat bullet points. And the bullet points that you're sharing and some of the technical stuff that you're sharing, people can really go out and find that on the internet. They can find it in books. The thing that they're not going to get access to is your unique story and your perspective as a part of the story that you experience. So when you're able to take talking points and really connect them to a story that becomes relevant and relatable to the audience, that's what they'll remember. That's what they will settle into their mind as they're going out and they're implementing action steps so that they can get closer to whatever it is that you promised them they can have from the stage.
Great. So be your authentic you, pull on your why, and then give your story that is unique to you. So that helps them remember the message you're giving them.
Yes.
Great advice, Cheryl. And so what would you say that would make this an unforgettable speech? How could you use this in a speech setting to make it unforgettable? You mentioned 5 elements. Which are they?
So I would say number 1, I'm going to go to transparency is critical. And that means share your mess and your success. Don't just get on any platform and only share the successful parts of you, because that leaves your audience feeling a little depleted. If you're only talking about how successful and amazing you are, and you never pull in the messy parts of your story, which would be the failures and the times that you fell into those potholes and the challenges and setbacks, number 1, they cannot relate to you. They can't even see themselves in you. So it's important that you are transparent in sharing both sides of your story, the things that went well, but also the things that didn't go so well and the lessons that you learned in that. That will allow the audience to connect with you and see themselves in you. Then I would also say making sure that you have clarity. And the clarity piece is being crystal clear about the audience that you are in front of and making sure that you are sharing content that is consumable for them. If you're sharing content with an audience and the level of the content or the story is at too high of a level, then they're not going to get the takeaway that they need. If it's at too low of a level, they're not going to get what they need. So your job is to do some research beforehand so that you are crystal clear about who this audience is that you're speaking to, and you provide a level of knowledge that is going to give them the greatest value.
Give us an example, Cheryl, for our listeners.
So I'll give this example. Right now, we're in the landscape as entrepreneurs that is primarily virtual. So it really doesn't add the greatest value for me to go into an audience and only speak about getting on live stages. That just really isn't as applicable right now as it would be, maybe 2 years ago before we came into the pandemic. So I want to go in and I want to make sure the primary part of my speaking engagement is talking about how do I maximize the virtual market space? How do I book more events virtually and still get highly paid for those events? How do I engage and interact with people virtually when I can't see them physically? Because a lot of speakers do engage based on seeing the audience and that audience's reaction to them. So those are the things that I would teach in that space. I'll give another example. Another example would be if I go into a corporate setting and I'm going in and I'm speaking to a group of C-suite executives at this engagement, I wouldn't want to speak to them on a level that's novice as it relates to maybe communication. I want to make sure that I'm speaking at a higher level that's going to be applicable to them and their everyday needs. Those would be 2 primary examples.
Great. So transparency and clarity of being able to adapt your speech to the audience and to make it most consumable. So what is the third element?
So then I would say another important thing is credibility. And credibility means you are able to get on any platform, live or virtual, in the live or virtual space, and you are able to confidently share the solutions that you have to produce a specific outcome for the audience because it has worked for you and it has worked for other people who have followed your step-by-step process or your system or your methodology. So now you become more credible because you have case studies that say, hey, what I'm sharing with you is not something that I'm just sharing in theory and I hope it works. No, I know definitively that it works because it's worked for me and other people who have followed this system, this process, or this methodology. So making sure that you are sharing viable solutions from the stage based on what you know firsthand, not what you think will work in theory.
Excellent. Okay, we're on to the fourth.
All right. And then fourth, I'm going to say making sure that you have mastery. So we got clarity and we have transparency and we have credibility. You need mastery over something specific. Too many speakers are trying to be a Jack or a Jill of all trades. Don't do it to yourself because no one can raise their hand and identify that you are the solution for the pain that they're currently in if you have not specifically identified what your core area of expertise is. So what have you mastered so well that you can get on any platform at any time and share a message? Even if it was an impromptu request, you would still be able to say yes because you have studied it, you have poured yourself into it, you've gone to conferences, you've developed yourself, and this is something that you know like the back of your hand. Do not accept any opportunities where you are not truly the expert because you diminish your own value.
Very good. So transparency, clarity, making your information consumable for your audience, credibility, okay, having case studies, having worked through the process, knowing that it works, and then making sure you have the knowledge and you're an expert in that field. And what's the number 5?
I would say number 5 would be simply consistency. Showing up consistent with the same message, meaning you're not all over the place. One week you're sharing this message and it's completely different than some other message that you just shared on another platform, because then you create confusion in the marketplace. And we all know that a confused mind does not buy. So you want to have a consistent message that you share on a consistent basis that produces a consistent, predictable outcome or result. When you do that, you position yourself to truly, truly stand out in the marketplace, especially as it comes to sharing your voice, your message, and your story.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Cheryl. And you're also a best-selling author. So what would you advise our listeners to have a best-selling author and get high-ticket clients?
Yes. So one of the most important parts of being able to establish a best-selling book is, number 1, the title. Is it a magnetic title that draws in a specific audience? A lot of times authors, especially new and emerging authors, they don't consider how impactful the title is. It has to be what I call a juicy title that makes me want to jump in and read it and makes me want to delve in because it's speaking my language. And that's important, that your title speaks the language of the people that you want to read it. So a lot of authors, they don't even think about who they want to read it. They're just writing a book and hope anybody buys the book. No, it should be geared to a specialized ideal client or audience. And then after you've come up with this magnetic, juicy title, then you want to make sure that you are actively marketing it out in the marketplace. So where are you promoting it? Where are you talking about it? Are you getting on podcasts and radio interviews and television interviews? And sometimes you've just got to make the ask. So often authors will just sit on their books. Now you spent all this time, you invested in writing the book, you put all of your expertise in the book, and now you have them sitting in your garage collecting dust. No, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we are getting the word out. So you should always embark upon a pre-sale campaign that gets people excited about the book coming, but it also puts some money in your pocket before you actually get those books. You've already sold them before you even get them in hand. You also want to make sure that you are getting on as many interviews as possible. You want to consider, how can I collaborate with other people who may have a topic that really is a good fit for the subject of this book. And it really does, it complements my book. It doesn't compete with my book or my expertise. So think about those things. How can I get on more platforms? Am I going to unveil the book when I get it, when I get the first copy? Am I going to do that on Facebook Live so people are as excited and energized as I am, and that prompts them to want to go buy their copy? Am I going to do some special BOGO sale? Hey, if you buy a book today, you get one free, or you buy one, I'll send one to your best friend, or today I'm going to do a no shipping day. There's so many ways that you can get those books distributed into more people's hands. And of course, one of my favorites is when you are getting hired to speak, you should be requesting the opportunity to do an exclusive book signing as a part of your speaking engagement. So if someone's bringing you in as a keynote speaker, then that means they truly see you as an expert and they value what you're bringing to the table. Why not extend that by having an opportunity to do an exclusive book signing for that audience immediately after you speak?
Wonderful. What good advice. So tell us your website and what they can find on your website.
Yes, my website is CherylEmpowers.com. That's an S on the end, guys. CherylEmpowers.com. And if you go there, you'll be able to read all about some of the amazing things that I've been able to do over the past 12 years through unleashing the power of my own voice. You'll be able to connect with me and become a part of my VIP community there, and just stay connected. I want to stay connected with you so that we can continue to grow together, elevate each other, continue to challenge each other, and also hold each other accountable for making sure that we are playing all out and up to our fullest potential.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. This was a great interview.
Thank you so much.
Take care. We would love to know what you thought of this podcast. Write us an email at drkatrina with a K at excellentexecutivecoaching.com. We would love to hear what you liked and what we could improve. This podcast has been sponsored by excellentexecutivecoaching.com.
Thank you for listening to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. You can subscribe to all future podcasts at excellentexecutivecoaching.com. Join us each Wednesday to learn more about the latest trends in leadership techniques and bring your coaching to the next level. To learn more about Dr. Burris's CEO Mastermind, use the contact form at excellentexecutivecoaching.com.